Dankeschön, baby. Hi everyone, it's Darcy from the Purposeful Pantry. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today we're going to talk about produce failure. Our apple tree that we have a crop on every year, we never get to harvest. Between blight and the squirrels and birds eating it for the nutrients plus moisture in our hot Texas summers, we've never been able to really harvest an apple even in the last quite a few years. But I have a trick on how to stock my pantry with dehydrated food that doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg. So let's go inside and get started. Okay, this is the next day. Waited one day too long for this because I should have done this yesterday, but I am sick. I don't think that you can hear it in my voice now, but I've got a cold. My son had it while we were away on vacation, and he gladly gave it to me when we came home, so that now I'm just dragging, and so we're gonna get through this today. So as I was talking about yesterday, our apple harvest is gone. There's just no way we're going to get any apples off that tree. Any that might be good are so far up in the tree that we can't get to them, and everything that I can see, even with the binoculars, they're not available for us to eat. So normally I would wait till fall when we get all the apple harvest in and the sales happen, but while we were stocking up, if you might have seen in my last video, at Walmart this weekend, I found a great way to make this happen pretty quickly so that I could go ahead and get some apples into our pantry and some for snacks. So what I have are pre-cut, pre-peeled, pre-sliced, pre-everything, pre-treated sliced apples from Walmart. They were $3.44 for this huge, I think it's about 2 pounds. It feels like it's probably 2 or 3 pounds worth of apple slices. So these are going to be super easy for me just to go ahead and lay on my trays, get them dehydrated, and they'll be ready for snacks. And I also like to have them in my oatmeal because I love apple cinnamon oatmeal. So we're going to walk through how to do this quickly. Now, if I had an apple, if I was using apples, I would go ahead and peel them, core them, slice them, and it would be, the same as what I'm doing now. The only step that's not happening here is that I'm not having to use any kind of lemon or citric acid to treat the apples because these have been treated. We bought these on Sunday, and they're just now starting to turn a little bit brown. Just because they've been here since then. So these are pre-treated, so I don't have to do anything to them. But if you want to dehydrate apples, make sure that you spritz them with some lemon water. You can do either full lemon if you like, or you can cut it with some water and then just spritz all of them to make sure that they are completely covered and they won't turn brown while you dehydrate them. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to show you how I do the apple cinnamon coating on them for a snack, and then the regular trays, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so what I've got here is my apple cinnamon topping, which is about half and half cinnamon to sugar. Sometimes it's a little, it just depends on how I make it that day, but you can just do it whatever percentage that you like, whether you like a lot more cinnamon than sugar or you like more sugar than cinnamon. But I'm just going to put this onto my apples. So I'll open them up and pour about half of the apples into my bowl. And I'm going to shake on quite a bit of this and just toss them so that they have a good coating without being completely just flat coated. But you're not going to get perfect coating because it sticks so quickly. One thing I did forget to mention is that when I'm doing just the regular apples, I like to have smaller pieces to go into my oatmeal. I don't like to have a piece this big dehydrated down to go in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these. I'm going to make sure they're cut pretty thin if they're a big piece, and cut them in thirds because I really like small little pieces of apple, and they are going to get tiny as they dehydrate. As I load these, I'm going to ask your humble forgiveness about the state of my mesh. Last week when I did the Clean Your Dehydrator video, I am sorry to say that I went ahead and then did a whole dehydrator full of peppers, of red, yellow, and orange peppers, and got everything dried, got everything ready to go, got it packaged up, got it just ready for the house, and then promptly went away on vacation and did not remember to clean my trays off before I left. So I came home, pulled it all out, and found that all of my trays are now stained with red pepper, with pepper juice. So I have cleaned them the best that I can. They are still a bit stained. So if you have any ideas about how to get stain off the mesh sheets for your dehydrator, let me know. I've tried a couple of things that didn't work. I did a soak in OxyClean. I did a soak in hot water and soap. I'm hesitant to use any kind of bleach cleaner, but I might try it and then run them through the dishwasher after so that I don't have to worry about that getting onto my food. But I'm curious, have you found a way to clean off your mesh without actually, and get the stains off? I mean, you can see how it just stained it like crazy, and no amount of cleaning off has helped. So now I have stained mesh, and if I can't get them clean, I will probably go ahead and just order a few extra mesh. I know that some people will actually go to the craft store and buy the Derice, I think that's how you pronounce it, mesh sheets that are used for not cross stitch, but it's kind of one of the needle points that now I forgot the name of it that you use, and use those sheets to replace their mesh. I have written Derice before and asked, I don't need all that space, do I? If they are in fact food grade, and I never did get a reply from them. They are not marked as food grade, but they're probably the same kind of plastic. I just can't be sure that they're not BPA free, because they aren't made for the food market. So that's one of those things you just kind of have to figure out. But I know that there is mesh sold on Amazon and through Excalibur that you can buy new mesh for your machine. The Excalibur ones come in only a 3 count instead of a full 9 count, which seems kind of weird to me. But they are available. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these cinnamon apples loaded onto my machine and then get them going in the dehydrator. Okay, something you may notice now that my dehydrator is already going. I like to make sure that I have warmed this up before I put my fruit in, just as a way to make sure that they get the best time going. Sorry, set this right here. I always preheat my dehydrator. So we're going to start doing the trays in, and since I don't have a full machine today, I'm just going to do these at every other row. And I am dehydrating at 135. Until done. Okay, so it is now Friday. I originally put these apples into the dehydrator on Tuesday, and it is still running. I know that when I started the video, I told you I was getting sick, and I did. I got a good whopper of a cold, and you might even still be able to hear it in my voice now. I totally forgot that I had the dehydrator going. I wasn't in here with it, and my family didn't notice, I guess, or just let things go without wanting to bother Mom. So these apples are good and done. What I wanted to show you is that I went ahead, I'm going to turn it off because it's not like it needs to keep going. What I do is I pull out a few of the pieces that I want to test ahead of time. So I will pull from the back of a tray here, the middle of a tray here, and then maybe a different place on another tray, so that I can make sure that the entire section has been dried well, because sometimes with some machines, depending on if you have a front to back blower or a top to bottom or bottom to top, they may dry differently. Like I know when I still had my Nesco, I actually would have to rotate the trays from top to bottom to make sure they got a full chance in front of the dryer. Even on my Excalibur, things that are in the back tend to dry a little more quickly than things in the front because they are right by the fan. So I want to make sure that I'm testing over the full course of the tray, not just off from the front here where it's more convenient. So I had pulled a couple of these out right before. They've been out here for about 5 minutes, and I tested this one just to make sure. But these are really, really dried apples. And that's fine, because that's how I like to make sure that when I'm going to store them, they are fully dry. I just didn't expect them to go this long. You can see how dry these are. But that makes them perfect for my use, which is mostly either just for a quick snack or they go in my oatmeal. So I'm going to now let these dry on the trays on my countertop, and let these cool off on the trays on my countertop before I begin to condition them. So I'll take you through that process next. Okay, since they've had time to cool off now, I'm going to be taking my apples and placing them in a canning jar. So what we're going to do now is go through the process of conditioning. Sorry. We allow the fruit pieces to come to a consistent humidity within the jar to make sure that there are no pieces that happen to be drier or more moist than any other piece. And what we're looking for, oh, this may not be big enough. I'm going to have to get a bigger jar. Hold on. Sorry, this allows the pieces to come to a neutral humidity level. Because what we don't want is to have a piece that might have not had dried as well and still have some moisture that transfers to all the other pieces and then creates a mold problem down the road. So what we have is a jar with our apples in it, and once every day, I wouldn't use a jar this big normally, but there's not a big difference. There's nothing in between that I have, so this will work for right now. What I will do is every day I will have this in the pantry, and I will walk by. I have on my morning chores list on there to do this, but every day I'll walk by and I will shake it up and then let it sit for another 24 hours, and then shake it up and let it sit for another 24 hours. I'll do this for at least a week. And if I don't see moisture build up, like if you can see specks of moisture on any of the pieces of the apple, or I see no mold issues, they are ready to go and to be stored for long term. If you do start to see a little bit of condensation forming on anything in here in any amount of time during that, I would take these and put them right back on the dehydrator, let them go for a little longer, and then they're ready. And as you're grinding this, you will still hear it, the larger chunks like this pinging against your grinder. That lets you know that you're not quite done, but we're getting really close. All right, so now you can see the powder. There are very few lumps in there. There's just a couple left that if I really wanted to be specific, I mean, if I wanted to be particular about it, I would grind this a little bit more to make sure that I got those, but I'm fine with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this powder into a small jar. Now, something about apple powder, different than other powders, is that this can become quite cakey because of the sugars. It really is powder. This is not wet, but the sugars help it cake up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, especially when it gets pressed on each other, because I ground too much at one time, this last one, I usually do it in much smaller doses. But to show you how that looked, I want to do a little more. But see, it's caking up. That's not large chunks. That's just how the sugars will bind together. So you're good. So I'm just going to pull all this out. So what I would do with this is, if I wanted apple flavoring in my oatmeal, but I didn't want apple chunks, if you have kids with texture issues, or even, husbands yourself that have texture issues and you don't like the chunks, that powder works really well to sweeten up your oatmeal. And if I've made a mess here, I'll clean it up in a minute. It can also go into apple muffins if you like a little extra apple flavor, but you don't want to add the extra chunks. I know that some people sprinkle this on ice cream. We don't eat ice cream in our house anymore because it's horrible for me. So I don't store it. But if we ever did, send this on some vanilla ice cream would be really good. Okay, so to store it, what I will do is I will use this little desiccant pack, which is a moisture absorber. I know that these were dried, super dry. There is no moisture in here, but because powders will clump up with the least amount of moisture in the air, and because I am not going to use my vacuum sealer on this particular powder, I'm going to put this inside to help absorb whatever moisture is still in the residual air that's here in the jar. And you have apple powder. So the last thing I wanted to show you too were these humidity labels that I was talking about earlier. These will help you decide how much humidity is in a jar of any kind of dehydrator product that you have. And depending on what the indicator shows after it's been in the jar for a while, you can know, I didn't get those dehydrated well enough, I'm going to put them back in the machine. You still always want to condition what you have, but this helps you know on the outset if you're way off and you need to have it some more, you need to dry it some more, or if you're good and it's time to go straight to the conditioning phase. So I thought you'd like to see those too. So thanks for watching. I will put my last dehydrating video up here in the corner, whichever way it goes. And I thank you for watching. Have a great day.